welcome to Crunch Time. My name is Jack Bogdan.
My name is still Alex Grimley.
And this is our review of Portal 2.
Oh, good. There you are. Let's get started. We're going to have fun. With science. Rated everyone. 10 and up.
So that was a trailer for Portal 2. Here is some footage from Portal 2. Let's start with our memories of Portal 1. Fantastic game, very funny, great mechanics, very notable ending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that ending got more notable as the release of Portal 2 drew near, where Valve went back and updated it so that Shell, the main character, began getting dragged away at the end of Portal 2.
Mm-hmm.
I actually played Portal 2 right before this one came out, so it was all fresh. That game is still great. That game, my favorite part of the first game is once you kind of break out of the test chambers. If you haven't played it yet, tough shit.
Spoilers for Portal 1, but we are not going to do any spoilers for Portal 2 in this review.
No. But when you break out of the test chambers in the first one, and you kind of have to apply everything you've learned into real world settings. And I mean, even just looking at this, Portal 2 continues that in a lot of ways, and does such a good job of it, and keeps the puzzles interesting because of that, because it's not all in a sterile test lab setting.
Yeah, they really grow beyond the perfect white walls that you were so used to in Portal 1. This is very much the part of the facility you didn't see. And the big aesthetic, I guess, addition or the thing that they really blew up was panels.
Right.
This time around. So panels are basically a grid of tiles, but they have techie AI robots powering behind them, and they'll move depending on certain things that are happening in the level. Do we want to... Let's focus on, I guess, new mechanics, the new things that they introduced in this game, because in the first game, it's very much Portal A, Portal B.
Right.
That's it. I mean, there's buttons. That was a big one in the first game, and there were turrets. There was glass.
Right. So this time around, boy, they have a whole slew of new gameplay mechanics. There are the faith plates that will launch you in the air, across a map when you stand on them. And that's another thing. The faith plates are important because the scope of these puzzles is so much grander than the first one. They have a zoom button now on the controller, because you will need to zoom to see across levels. But there's the faith plates. There's lasers that you have to redirect with special cubes that have lenses in them. What else? Help me out, Jack.
There's the liquids. The meta goos, if you will, in this game, where so there's a few different kinds. There's the blue one that when it hits a surface creates a little bit of a jump pad. It's a bouncy surface.
Right.
There's the orange one where it's sort of like a speed pad, where if you run over multiple orange ones at once, you will move very quickly.
Right.
And then there's
you build
the white
momentum
one.
much more quickly.
Yes. And the white one creates portal surfaces.
Right.
So if you were unable to create a portal in a certain location before, you can spray this white moon goo on it, and moon dust ground together, I guess, was the explanation for that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But it's an absolute blast. Those mechanics are great. I believe there's another one that we're missing.
We named them all off before the show, but oh, I mean that in and of itself tells you all you need to know.
Well, there's also light bridges.
Right.
We haven't touched on
the
light
hard
bridges. Basically,
then there are the alien abduction things.
Yes. Alien abduction things that move forward and backward depending on whether you triggered a button.
Right.
So they've added
so those are all new mechanics. I think.
Good work getting this.
Outside of mechanics, I mean, this whole review is going to be intentionally vague, because a lot of what's so great about this game is the story. The writing is fantastic.
This is the funniest game I've ever played.
Yeah. Great cast of characters.
Great voice actors.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Wheatley. So Wheatley is in the first game, I guess it was very sterile outside of Gladys and maybe a scant scientist looking at you and saying something over the PA, and the turrets. The turrets were really like the banter.
There weren't even any scientists. It was only Gladys. She was the only thing you interacted with in that first game.
There you go.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
You're meeting Wheatley right now. Wheatley is that cute as a button ball right there. And he is your he's a British companion you meet early. He kind of kicks off the game with you.
Right.
And I'm trying to be very vague.
I mean that it takes place in an unspecified amount of time after the first game.
You're kind of woken up.
If you do what?
You're woken up.
Yes.
Never, ever.
Well, that's all I really want to touch on with story.
Okay. All right.
I think we should just leave it at that, because this sounds like really cheesy, but I feel like this is a game where this is one of those games where as soon as I finished it, I was sad that it was over because it was so good. And I wish that I could wipe my memory and play through it again for the first time.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think we can both say, without saying anything about the story, if you liked the ending to Portal 1 and thought that there was no way they could do any better, I think this beats it on almost every front, and I loved the ending to Portal 1.
Yeah, and that was a real... I can only imagine that was a challenge for them, in that... Because, I mean, the big thing in the first Portal was you were just expecting a puzzle game. I mean, it was like a fun little add-on in the orange box.
Very short. We should also say, I mean, the original... I mean, what, it was like 4 hours? 5 hours tops?
Maybe 4 hours the first time you played through it. I beat it in under 2, I feel like, when I played it before this one came out. And, I think the big surprise in that game was that it had a story. Until then, we just knew that it was a puzzle game. We were not expecting the writing that it had.
Right.
So this time around, you're kind of expecting that, and they deliver. I mean, completely. I was amazed at the stuff that they come up with and introduce through this game.
There is not a single line of dialogue that falls flat. Not a single line.
Yeah. As always, Valve, they're so good at their craft, and they're so good at telling a story. And they don't have to spell it out for you. They can leave it to your imagination. You can deduce what has happened from looking at your surroundings. So good.
The art style, I mean, we can even say, like, they've updated Source Engine to the point where I am shocked that this game looks this good.
Right. And we're just playing it on the consoles. We're not even playing it on the PC.
We should actually talk about this for a second, because you played it on the Xbox 360. Right. I played it on the PlayStation 3.
Right.
And then we'll go into co-op in a second. But differences in PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions. PS3 version. So you all know, I'm sure, if you're interested in video games, that the PlayStation Network's currently down. So one struggle that I had to go through was that I was playing through the co-op campaign, and suddenly you were unable to continue playing unless you played locally, which was kind of a drag. But the PlayStation version came with a free copy of the Steam version, so you could then download it for your Mac or PC. And then it had Steam Cloud functionality. Now this is really neat. Your progress automatically synced with Steam Cloud, including your trophies. So those would carry over as achievements to your Steam account. And wherever you were in the game, or whatever difficulty, or not difficulty, but wherever, how much you had completed in both co-op and single player, synced right to Steam after you finished playing and saved. And that was great. Like I downloaded it to my Mac. I was able to jump right into where I was before PlayStation Network crashed. Yeah. And yeah, it was a whole. I mean, that's really cool. They didn't do that for 360 versions. I don't think Microsoft would give them that much access to live, which I guess is one of the updates, or one of the bonuses to PlayStation Network when it's not being attacked, unfortunately. Let's jump into co-op for a second.
Right.
Because co-op really just plays on the mechanics we kind of talked about earlier. It's brilliant. I mean, these will test you.
Yeah, and it's a healthy chunk of game too. I mean, you know, the single player is no slouch. I mean, it probably took 8 to 10 hours to complete. Would you say?
I finished it in like 8.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and the co-op takes about, I don't know, 5 hours all in all. You know, maybe you should restart this video. Do you think?
I don't think this. They show this in trailers.
Okay.
I think this is fine.
Okay, so
say hello to Gladys again.
Yeah, and but anyway, so yeah, the co-op is no slouch, and you know, it's light on the story. It's not as story heavy, but you know, you do have an interaction with Gladys as you're playing through. And they're very, very light story elements. There's enough so that there's somewhat of a payoff when you complete it. But you know, they introduce gestures into it, which are fun to do. I played split screen with my girlfriend, so you know, we had fun giving each other high fives and waving at each other from across the maps.
You didn't know this, but on the PS3 version, I imagine it's on the 360 version, if you play rock, paper, scissors with your partner and win 3 times in a row, you get an achievement or a trophy on the PlayStation Network, so that was pretty fun.
Nice.
And the other thing, you played co-op split screen, and I actually played co-op split screen and online. I played online until I could no longer play online. And online did something really neat, where if you hit the triangle button on the PlayStation, I imagine the Y button on the Xbox 360, you could actually see a live stream of the other person's screen as they were playing the game. So you could you can signal already using the D-pad, like to have them shoot a portal there, or to start a countdown if there's a timed event you need to both work on at the same time. It's a brilliant experience. Even the co-op writing is genius. They play on the relationship between the 2 robots.
Right.
And yeah.
You know, one thing about the interaction in co-op, I still think that even with those things, it would be impossible to play without voice communication.
Yes.
Some of those later puzzles are vicious and would be impossible. Also, probably be frustrating to play with someone you don't know. So, keep it within your ring of friends, I would imagine. And with that, I think we are running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. I mean, this made me feel like Mass Effect 2 made me feel when that came out. That quality of game, and Valve is awesome. But we have to go. My name is Jack Bogdan.
My name is Alex Grinling.
And thanks for watching.